I was muted this time.
Oh
No! I
How
gave
are
a whole
people gonna
intro
know
and
this
everything.
is where? Wow.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings
There
Rant,
we
where
go.
tirades and passion pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Anyway.
Sorry, guys. I came in too late to rescue Matt from doing the entire intro. Muted.
I wish, you know what? What's horrible?
Yeah.
If you hadn't shown up, I would have just kept going. Mute. No, there would have been nobody to save me.
I know you don't need us here for this, Matt. This is just your therapy.
Crimson, where's the sound? Corey, muted. Crimson's like, I hear music.
Yeah, you could hear the intro music, but then you were
Yeah.
just doing a silent movie in the background. We should have had little cue cards. Man gets angry about local hockey team. You know?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb why I do it, because I just don't want people to hear the clicks of my mouse when I hit play. And nobody cares. Nobody gives two craps.
People like when we're opening up Pop-Tarts and things like that on live during the show.
Yeah.
So, Matt, this is another huge hot button. Tons of Red Wing news just falling out of our pockets. Oh, my God. We've got contract extensions for Sider and Raymond. We've got big trades being swung. Oh, wait a minute. It's a slow week at Red Wings Rant, but I think you still found a way to get some topics our way. Is that true?
Yeah, we've got some content. Some of it you guys already know. It's like months old. We can start there as people sort of join the show, and we'll get to our topics of confidence, Mike, potentially waning on the Yzerplan. Very interesting. But Mike, there's something, Mike, your brother, who you're speaking to right now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Would you categorize my feelings on Fanatics? How would you categorize it?
I think that you are a little anti.
Has it traveled into like whiny bitch territory a little bit sometimes?
Yes. I'm glad that you said something, so we can finally address the elephant in the room. Yes.
I didn't know if I needed to give you permission to drag me, but Mike, I've not only been critical of Fanatics, I've been very critical of the NHL, because why in all of God's green earth would you sign such a long deal with a company that is notorious for sort of mailing it in? Now, early returns on the jerseys. People are like, I can't tell the difference.
Are they less see-through than MLB pants?
I don't know if they've been tested rigorously enough for us to know.
We knew pretty quick when you could see if people were wearing boxers or briefs while they were standing on the mound. So as long as they pass that test, I think they've at least exceeded the expectations of Major League Baseball. But before we get too far into this, I did want to throw in Crimson Shadow's comment that did make me laugh, because he said, Stevie Y sure likes dragging out extensions like me paying the rent. Crimson, don't get evicted, you rascal.
Well, here's the thing. I've been very critical. I think Fanatics has, at least in the early returns, shown that they can't just completely fail a jersey. But that's for the Fanatics side of things. Mike, the NHL has done maybe the greatest solid for your man. My absolute favorite, number one, hat company. And I'm not really like, nobody's going to be like, well, usually the response to this is like, what other hat companies are there? Mike, my number one is NewEra. And I have been dying for some NewEra hats from the NHL for years. They used to spit them out consistently, but they have been Mitchell and Ness and Fanatics for a little bit here. Mitchell and Ness, okay.
Is this love for NewEra based on the quality of the hat, or is it based on your love for Limp Bizkit, when Fred Durst famously said, NewEra committed, now I got this red cap for you reps and you critics?
Oh, I am
down
fully drenched in hot dog water right now, Mike.
Yeah, let's go.
Not only is it both, is the easy answer
I
to that
stay
question.
fitted, new era committed. Now this red cap gets a rap from his critics. All right, I got it now. I'm back.
That was my horrible Fred Durst, and my voice cracked, and I was like, but that kind of works.
You got to bring it home with a boo-ah.
Boo-ah!
There you go. And Dan B saying 47 also makes great hats.
True, if you're like a dad hat.
Whoa!
Kind of guy. No, that's a style of hat. Style of hat, dad hat. Very legit. Call
I
out
think
there.
You can also be a daddy. What about a daddy hat?
Yeah, if you're a daddy, a whole different kind of shop we want to send you to. But Mike, the dad hat, those are like the it's like, I'm gonna say flimsy, and it sounds like I'm being mean, but it's like flimsy all the way through. This right here. No, I'm just gonna do Fred Durst throughout the whole show. But on the front of this hat, like it's solid. I'm like it's got a form, it's got a press, it's got a curve.
Oh.
Dad hat is just floppy all the way through. New Era, Mike, just came out. I mean, this is the best example I could give. You could go to the NFL shop right now and see the sideline hats for the Detroit Lions. They are just absolutely perfect. They are so cool. I love them so much. And I can't wait for my wife to get me one for my birthday.
Hopefully she's a subscriber and listener to this episode. She's taking notes.
Oh, she didn't need to. I was like a little kid. I sent her my list, and I was like, hey, for October, can I have this for my birthday?
Matt has 2 kids, and he still makes a birthday list for his October birthday. It's August 7th. For those of you keeping score. But yeah, this is
don't throw out the exact date. That'd be...
This is a fine partnership. I think a lot of us have had good experiences with New Era. And I don't yet see a priority patch on the hat, so I feel pretty good about that. But I mean, as far as kind of pivoting away from companies that we were a little apprehensive towards, lest I remind you, hold on, that Priority has rescued the garbage pickup in the city of Waterford. So
that's true. So they're getting their brand values increasing in the city of Waterford. I'm showing up. So like the simple things, Mike, the NFL logo has Detroit Lions colors in it at New Era. I'm excited because it's customized by the team instead of it just being like patches. Like not every team in the NFL has the Michigan mitten on the side of their hat, which is, that's a staple for Fanatics.
That would be a pretty cool flex, though. If you make it to the NFC championship game, you get to have your state on the hat.
I am curious because a lot of Packers fans actually live in the UP. I wonder how they feel about that hat. Like pretty much saying like if you live in the UP, you're a Lions fan.
Yeah. So happy to see that. No. And I know we had an actual kind of fun little piece that came out that polled local fans on their team.
Whoops. Yeah. From The Athletic. Mike, this is where we get all of our show topics from. It's they deserve it. Everybody's favorite statistician, who of course follows us as a podcast. You guys just love Don Luschizin. Now, what he did here is he got a fan vote, right? Like this isn't one of those things where it's like there's an analytic that is defining whether or not Steve Yzerman is doing a good job. No, that's called the standings, and we very much have not made it to the playoffs. That exists, guys. We've some of our friends in the show. You guys want to know wins and losses? You can let that guide your opinion on Steve Yzerman. However, there is another way to measure this because obviously we could take ourselves out of the standings and say, where is this team headed? What is the direction? Do we feel pretty confident about it? And Dom Luschizin has been measuring this for years. And for a while, the Red Wings were at the top of this list. Last year, I think Dom said we were at like 12th or 14th or something like that. I'm getting there. I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. Oh boy. Okay, we were 12th last year. This year, Mike, we ranked 21st in the NHL. Steve Yzerman gets a C grade for basically confidence in his ability to take this team in a positive direction.
I think just to give a little context, some of the teams that were at the top, I know Tampa was up there, and I liked that not only was it like a scoring, you got to kind of give some commentary too. And the Tampa people can't really be upset. They're like, yeah, we lost Stamkos, but we think that he was probably asking for a little bit too much money, and we wanted Michael to once again butcher the pronunciation of Jake Quenzel. Just to make Matt's ears bleed just a little bit.
Just pretend that you don't give it around you. Just go right into the Gensel.
It feels wrong.
No,
yeah, the top three: Tampa, Dallas, and Florida.
What a surprise!
Yeah, I mean those kind of make sense. So towards the bottom, I don't think a lot of us would really disagree. This might even be a lenient score. But I feel like a lot of the comments too for that C rating were, that Steve, I think somebody was talking about how Steve was kind of handcuffed based on what he walked into, and he's still trying to clean up, the cap sheet and then the minor league system. And then once that's cleaned up, then you can kind of work on the, actual NHL roster. But with that, I don't think it's a surprise that he's getting, barely passing grades for trades and free agency. I think we can agree that, yeah, he has developed a few guys. There are some dudes at the NHL level. There's 2 guys that we'd like you to extend at any minute now. So it's nice that you drafted and developed them. But now maybe we can put an end to this restricted free agency and, sign these guys to something agreeable for, both parties. But yeah, that's my takeaway is that seems like the Detroit Red Wings fans are pretty smart. I didn't have a lot of notes on their ranking. I think it was kind of a glass half full, even with a C, just because this team is on the cusp of being a playoff team 6 years into this rebuild.
Well, what's funny is if you went, I'm scrolling through this list right now. Even like New Jersey Devils fans are like low on their team with drafting and developing. The teams that have great grades with drafting and developing are
before
the bottom of the barrel.
Get into your description, I do want to note Jared's comment. Welcome, Jared, saying, checking in to remind everyone that Matt did not want Patrick Kane last year.
Oh, thanks, Jared.
All right, Matt, as you were. Go ahead.
Anyway.
I thought that piece of context was important for what you're about to say. Go ahead.
Well, I guess it has nothing to do with that, but it is kind of odd that a lot of the teams and their fan bases here actually rank their team with like a C minus or lower. I think a majority of the fan bases give a bad grade to drafting and developing. I would say what's curious is 6 drafts now. I could say 6. We've seen 2 guys finish an NHL season, and we give Steve Yzerman a B+ at drafting and developing. I think that's pretty weird. I think it's weird to say like, well, it's good because it'll be good in the future. But what's more puzzling is just like there's the teams that are good now, which Florida obviously built through trades. Dallas should be an A+, right? Like Dallas has built through the draft and they've seen it work, and it works like this. They draft guys, they go in the lineup, the guy challenges for a Hart Trophy. Draft a guy, goes to the lineup, guy challenges for a Hart Trophy. Call it luck. Fans say you get an A+. Tampa Bay, draft and develop. Recently, not so much. Overall, they're standing there with a bunch of Stanley Cups. They gave themselves an A. But then you go to I don't know, what do I want to do here? Do we want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and their core are 2 guys that they drafted and are playing great and challenge for Hart trophies and Norris trophies, and Vancouver fans are like, nah, That's not where this team has success. Or I guess it does have to be kind of called out, like changes in leadership too. I am forgetting about that little nugget.
Yeah.
All right, so I am kind of making an ass of myself right now. But I guess through all of that, we have all these years of draft picks, and I think it's odd that we aren't a little more critical at this point. Mike, I did a little bit of digging. Are you ready for this?
Boy.
I threw it
Before you
into the
share that, I do
Discord.
want to hit a few comments.
Let's do
Dan
it.
B saying there's opinions, and then there's opinions, some more enlightened than others. The squeaky wheel shouldn't always get the grease. Dan, we always share your squeaks. What are you talking about? And Corey Axel saying what he needs to do, meaning Yzerman, is clean up Cop and Hall. I think that's part of. I would mark the vision a little bit lower, because that vision is what brought in both of those guys for very long contracts that most teams would not have signed.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I would bump up free agency because they've taken some swings, I guess. But the vision to be like, yeah, this is going to be, our number 2 center. Whoops. All right. This is going to be our number 3 center. Whoops. All right. We're going to play him as the 4th line center and see if we can try to redeem this awful decision.
Mike?
Same with Hall, who does not play.
Yeah, you know what, guys? You should be applauding at home. That is a very good point. Take some swings on some of these guys. Don't make them a part of your core. Don't make them a part of the team and then be stuck with them if they're not great. That Dylan Larkin is going to go through his best years right now. And if he gets hurt, the year is wasted because there's no backup behind Dylan Larkin down the middle. Mike, that is a great point. Like, free agency isn't the bust, it's the length of term, which should equate more to vision. Now, I think there's a combo here. I think certainly, like, the free agency decisions could just overall, like, we've talked about guys they could have gotten, and maybe you just say, like, okay, I lost. I didn't get the guy that was actually propel this team into the future, so I will just hang on here. So, but I do think you're right. I think the vision should get called out because you gave Dylan Larkin an 8-year contract, and you're just going to skirt right through these prime years of your captain and just hope he hangs on to it. Again, statistically past the plateau/drop that is measured out over every NHL player's career. Go ahead.
I got the comments coming in hot now. I think this is kind of lighting the spark. First of all, Jared did want to applaud me.
Should I do it like this, like flash it up and down so it looks like he's applauding? Okay.
And Ketzel, welcome. He also reminded us that Cobb does have a role. He's just ridiculously overpaid. Not untrue.
Again, a free agency loss and a vision loss. I think you could argue right there.
Yeah. And then JWT657, I think you're here last week under a different name, but welcome back, saying, I'm not the biggest Yzerman defender, but it's pretty hard not to notice that he's done more than I expected without a sexy market for free agents. Yeah, I think that's true. Or a bit of draft lottery luck breaking his way. I think that you can also make the case for that.
Can we just say, like, it's pretty hard. I just want to challenge it a little bit. It's pretty hard not to notice that he's done more than I expected without a sexy market for free agents or a bit of draft lottery luck. I think he's done exactly what
Can I guess what you're about to say?
Yeah.
He may have set himself up to screw it up in both fields by signing enough free agents to keep us away from better lottery luck, but still not a playoff team.
I agree.
So I would take that as another knock against the vision.
Yeah, here's the thing. I agree with you, JWT. I think with what he's been handed, it's not a bad job. I think Mike and I, this is you threw in there. Nope, first time watching. Welcome. I hope you'll have some fun with us, and please continue to give us your opinions because we're just a couple assholes. We don't think we're right. We're the ones with the microphones. we get to just ignore your guys' comments if you disagree. But we promise we won't do that. But my point just being, like, I think Steve did a job. Like, he didn't do can we call it a good, like, the good job would just be like all right, well, like a terrible job would have been like, all right, Seider didn't win a Norris Trophy his first year, trade him, right? Like that. I don't know, like. Like he's hanging on to pieces and he did a job. And I think other teams have also done similar things and they are also missing the playoffs. So I don't want to,
like,
I don't know.
I don't think that he's quite, God, what was that guy's name? Franz Nielsen or who's that other jabroni that we signed at center?
Weiss.
Thank you, Stephen Weiss. I don't think he's quite done that where he signed. I don't know if we're going to count Hall, but I think Hall's going to end up playing this season. Just complete like torpedoes of, what the hell was this move? Like Ketzel said, Kopp does still have a role. I think we just give him more grief because he's paid to be a second or third line, or by God, an emergency first line, and he's at his best on the fourth line. So those other two jabronis did not even, belong in the league anymore. And also brand new. God damn it. Every time I see your thumbnail brand new, it cracks me up. Good evening.
I struggle with like he didn't need Andrew Kopp. And I get where everybody's coming from. Like he can serve a purpose. I still struggle to see that purpose is couldn't be improved by somebody else and even at a cheaper rate. And I know that's part of that's what you guys have called out. The money, doesn't make sense. But so blatantly, I would like to see someone who is relied upon on their defensive side to not just be completely, capsized in regards to what's given up. I feel like you could be given that role and maybe do a little bit better job. I'm just throwing that out there. He's not amazing, but if that's your role, I kind of would like it to be a little bit better. Okay. So, but we all know I don't like Andrew Kopp on this team. I am the most critical human on the planet for Andrew Kopp.
I got a couple more coming in too when you got to say. Yeah, just Dan B. Throne can't make final call on Yzerman until we find out the future considerations in the Wallman deal. Thank you, Dan B.
Dan.
My favorite squeaky wheel. God bless.
That was beautiful.
Corey Eisel is saying, I think Steve made the decision between Mata and Wallman and chose Mata, which I completely disagree with.
If that was the choice, I also disagree.
I think collectively we all do. But I just don't know if maybe Mata didn't have the, and I keep putting a really hard emphasis on the and the t. I think just from listening to his name delivered at Little Caesars Arena, maybe Wallman just had more value. It was easier to move. But we also got Sean Orb coming in. Welcome, Sean. Yes, after this offseason and last, I'm not happy with what he's done. He is not one free agent that we say that was a great signing. He did nothing to make this team better. Well, I don't want to say he's done absolutely nothing because I think we can all agree Patrick Kane coming here was a free agent move and it moved the needle. And we were, one untimely overtime from kind of squeaking into the playoffs as the last seed.
I would throw out there, I want to come back to the Mata. I always forget that his contract was $3 million and we had to trade away a $3.5 million contract, which was Wallman. And I think we all agree Wallman would be the upgrade over Mata. So like another mistake there was like extending the Mata experience, because certainly we could have found a replacement player. And certainly it could have even been through one of our boys in Grand Rapids who come at a much cheaper price. And again, I don't know if Mata being a part of the squad, like somebody's at fault here, Mike. We give the other team an enormous amount of expected goals, and somebody's at fault here because everyone that's out there for these expected goals apparently is a genius on the ice defensively, and every other time, somebody's at fault. That's what we got to figure it out. I'm just saying, like, we give out an enormous amount of expected goals and shots to our opponent, and we've got to blame somebody right now. Wallman appears to be the culprit in Yzerman's eyes.
Wow.
What do you got?
My jaw dropped reading the comments because Dan B said, "Does Kane bring us a first-round pick at the deadline?" Jared did say Kane has a full no trade clause, but yeah, he could waive that. Dan, how dare you? But Ketzel, as usual, another home run, saying, "I'm just so tired of the this isn't the year." You know what else I'm tired of, Ketzel, is when I got to hear people like McCarty say, these fans are starting to understand the plan. It's like, calm down, stop spitting at us, and just talk. When is the year? Because it's been a pretty long time, and there's other teams that have turned it around that feel like they have something cooking, and we're just incrementally, we're a point better this past season than the one before.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a wet noodle because we have one more point in the standings. That doesn't really amount to anything. You failed. You didn't make the playoffs.
I even forgot to throw out there what I did a little bit of research. Mike, I went through the longest playoff droughts in the NHL in the history. And I started going through all the NHL droughts of our current franchises and what's going on with their front offices. Mike, no GM. Now, I just want to let's have this real talk, right? The Red Wings are still a few years away from having like the longest drought ever, right? And that includes some years that Steve wasn't here. We've talked about that before. No GM in the history of the NHL has lasted, Mike, into their 6th year without making it to the playoffs. Now, there have been GMs who have made it to the playoffs and then stuck around for a nice little drought, and then they get canned, but they made it to the playoffs. No GM in the history of the NHL has been without a playoff berth and stuck around as long as Steve Yzerman. And I'm not asking him to be fired. I'm just throwing that out. I know the argument gets made all the time that he had nothing to work with when he got here, but no GM in the history of the NHL has lasted as long as Steve Yzerman. That's crazy, right? Are you doing the research right now? I feel like I see you like buried deep in the bowels of Google. Your eyes are looking all around.
The comments are just warming my heart. No, I just man, I was trying to fathom what it would like. Steve would have to drown a puppy on live TV to maybe get a sharp scolding. I don't know what he would have to do to get fired, but it would not be drowning a puppy. It would have to be like a bucket of puppies that he just drowned. That he named like after all of Mike Ilitch's kids. If he named the puppies after the Ilitches and drowned them in a bucket, maybe he'd get like, a 24-hour suspension.
Dan B throws in there, in all fairness, 4 of 6 teams made playoffs up until 1967. Very true. Very super duper true there, Dan. But I think
you guys, oh my God, you guys are killing me with these comments. Guacamole coming in hot, saying enough with the cop slander, please. He's clearly still recovering from his core surgery 17 years ago. Oh, bless you, Guacamole.
Oh. And that's why that was a solid signing, because he's building up, like the scar tissue is going to make him actually as strong as, say the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
Oh, I thought you meant you were talking about the movie The Thing, the John Carpenter movie, when that big mouth came out of that guy's chest. So he's just got to close.
That's how strong his core is.
Yeah.
That's a good call out. No, but Fantastic Four is actually trending right now. So now I can put in the show description, we discussed the Fantastic Four.
There we go. We do have one brave swerve because everybody, it feels like most of us are kind of in agreement. But Casey McIntyre does want to say, let's see what happens come preseason, the first couple months of this season. This fan base is fast becoming as dramatic as Leafs fans. I think that we do. I think that we do get heated about this team, Casey. Especially if you're in this show reading these comments, we are pretty heated about a team that is trying. They did get Gustafsson. They did get Tarasenko, right? They did get 5 goalies. Hopefully one of them sticks.
One of them's got to work.
Yeah. The odds are one of them, right? I guess I'll just push back because it's like we're giving Yzerman so much leash, and I don't think we would if his name wasn't Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, I know this is silly too, but like, we've got friends at work that are old.
Sure.
We've got friends at work that, for one reason or another might disappear and we'll never see again. And God damn it all to hell, all these years of not being able to celebrate some Red Wings playoff hockey with some of those friends, some of those family members. This is a dark
episode. We got puppies going in the bucket. We got olds dying.
Look. There's a point to it. It's just one of those things where it's like, we can wait forever, right? I get it. But every now and then, it's nice to get a taste of some of that playoff hockey. And, I get it. Like, we want to be smart. We want to be pragmatic. But that's where the frustration comes from. That's where the excited outbursts come from myself. Is because I'm thinking about all the moments we possibly could be missing out on. It's kind of a bummer. Yeah, Dan's got it right. I think, again, I do not want to fire Steve. And he throws it out there. You can support and criticize Yzerman at the same time. JWT, this was the biggest danger of hiring a guy that was a great player as a GM, and danger for us, but JWT, I'm going to throw out there, absolute genius move by Mr. Illich. It was a no-brainer, but man, they can take forever with this thing. And you know what? The podcast isn't going anywhere. I'm still going to buy opening night tickets. When do those go on sale? Is that next Thursday?
Could be. Yeah. Jared also thrown in a great comment. No GM deserves a blind following.
Jared, yeah. I didn't like your other comments today, but
yeah, I mean, I know that at the end it didn't go well, but I mean, the Pistons did have Joe Dumars, who assembled a team that defeated one of the great Laker teams of all time. So, I mean, it's not like outside the realm, right?
Yeah.
Or, there's a hockey example, Sakic working out in Colorado, doing pretty well.
Corey throwing out there. Now Corey, I love this point because we've talked about this too. But for this team to elevate itself, there needs to be a surprise element because we are huge fans of what gets put together by Mr. J Fresh, by Dom Luce Chizen, where it's like, all right, this model says this is where we're going to end up, right? Sure. So when we take a look at these models and say, all right, we're going to give up so many goals, we're going to get so many, we found, these players to come in to stop the goal production from our opponent, and we brought in these players to bring in a couple more goals, right? We do that math, and it's still okay, overall, statistically, we're actually down a peg from last year. For us to elevate, you have to hope that Lucas Raymond is elevated, Moritz Seider, and nobody would sit here and argue they're going to fall off the deep end. I think we all are anticipating that, but you need one more past Simon Edvinsson. I think you need Edvinsson to be serviceable. I don't think you need him to be the surprise, out of nowhere. You don't need a Norris candidate out of Edvinsson. You need him to make this first Red Wing season just look like he's always been here. But if Danielson gets a shot, that's where this team could come out of nowhere and surprise some folks. And he has to be in a critical role.
I think JWT is hitting it on the head here too. And they work when that situation works, like the player becoming GM. It's almost better than just having a great GM and team. But when it's not working, you have to wait for them to fail for far longer than a generic GM. No notes on that comment.
That's JW, can you please subscribe? I'm really enjoying your comments, good sir.
There's one other one in here I liked.
Well, we have some other show topics.
I know what it was. It was Crimson. So Petrie and Hall also fighting off core surgeries. Yeah, they're contagious.
I I guess like the thing is we have other show topics, but they also lean sort of negatively, but also very positively, actually fall right in line. I don't know. Do we want to go into the goalie conversation that the Athletic put together?
Yeah, we could touch on it. Let's touch on it.
All right. So I think this works out as a part of this conversation because you're basically talking about a couple of things. Do we have a ton of confidence that this next season will be cup contenders? I think we're all in agreement. Absolutely not. Where is the future headed? You know what? Honestly, if you looked at what Steve has done and you are saying like, oh man, we are screwed. First of all, I think you're crazy. I don't think we're screwed 5 years down the line in any way. I think those are going to be very exciting years. It'll suck to still be in a playoff drought. But I think that's where those votes for the vision and drafting and development come into play because we've seen I'm going to hit the wrong button. I'm hesitating because I'm going to hit the wrong button here. Because we've seen where in this ranking of goaltenders, the package of goaltenders across the NHL, how the Red Wings ended up being currently ranked number 32, but in the future ranked number 1, which is just so much fun. Jesse Granger, we've talked about before, is sort of like the go-to in the Athletic for the goalie conversations. My man plays goalie himself. He definitely analyzes this with more of an eyeball test than statistics. Then you've got McIndoe, who I think has his head screwed on quite tightly. And Wheeler, of course, Scott Wheeler, who we reference all the time when it's draft season. The fun part about this, again, comes back to how we're ranked 32nd right now. We could touch on this slightly, and then we could talk about the positives here. But Cam Talbot coming off a strong statistical season, this coming, of course, from Jesse Granger. He did it behind a staunch Kings defense that tends to inflate goaltending numbers. Just ask how Ottawa signing Jonas Korpisalo went. Or Eunice. I learned that we talked about that.
That's all right.
Detroit has some incredibly exciting goalie prospects, but the current situation doesn't inspire that same excitement. Jesse is probably the most critical person on the planet of the Cam Talbot signing. Like, while we're looking at it and going like, all right, we've improved our goaltending, Jesse looks at it and says, you didn't have terrible goaltenders, you had a terrible defense, and you didn't upgrade it whatsoever. McIndoe and Wheeler, I think, continued on here with the future. So it's just one of those things. I have been highlighting this a couple of times because I've heard Granger talk about this multiple times, and they actually came out with this article. I think it's important to talk about to level set, but I think the more fun thing, and this is why it's so interesting, and to include this with the topic of like the fan vote for confidence level in your GM, because things just flip on its head. You go from worst in the league to number 1. And I do not think they had this planned for clicks or anything like that. But Scott Wheeler, Red Wings are the only team in the league with 2 goalies, I believe, are both top 10 goalie prospects in the sport. That's what Wheeler says. There are also 2 very different goalies with Kosa's size, fire, athleticism, raw potential, contrasted against Trey Augustine's stoic, cerebral, calm, and control. This is, I got to admit, Mike, I haven't read this yet. I'd be surprised if both don't become 1A, 1B types for the Red Wings and don't eventually have a tough decision to make whether or not to turn over in the next 2 young goalies. He goes on. We have some other guys in the system. It's pretty cool to just sit there and think about like Boston basically being able to scratch and claw into the playoffs, break records in the regular season based off of what their goaltender tandem was for a couple of years there. Of course, now broken up, and bring up the Ottawa Senators again, and they're gonna give it a shot trying another goalie. But still, kind of cool that when it comes to a human being who does this way more than we do, Mike, besides us like checking out the highlights from USNTDP. No, we we got to take a look at what these folks that are constantly in the arenas and watching these goalies over and over and over, which all of you you don't do that. I'm pointing at my comments right now. You guys don't do that. I don't do that. But certainly it is fun too to also hear, like, this isn't just like a type of guy, that the Red Wings are going after. They're like, let's get two different kinds of goalies here. We don't know what this defensive core is going to be like. We don't know what we're going to need down there. So let's get a giant like Vasilevsky in there. And then, I don't know, who's the cerebral type. Is that going to be Dominik Hasek, or is that going to be Martin Brodeur?
I'll take Hasek on that one.
Yeah, Hasek's the one that skated up and stops breakaways by skating out between the circles.
He's the king of the 4D chess. It's so funny. Like, Steve so badly wants his prospects to work. He just keeps signing these guys who are in their 30s, and they're like, all right, I just got to get 1 or 2 seasons out of these guys, and then I'll be good to go. But he needs more like Lucas Raymonds like to pop. He needs more Mo Siders to pop. And then out this goaltending, I forgot that Cam Talbot was 37 years old. My God. Alex Lyon, 31. Ville Husso, 29. And Jack Campbell, I think, is 34? 32. Ripe, young, 32. So I agree with the cap assessment. Because again, it's just waiting, just kind of twiddling the thumbs to be like, all right, one of these guys is going to hit. I think the future is pretty cool, but man, if there's a part of the Red Wings decision makers that agrees that 32 is accurate, are we doing our franchise a disservice? And I can't believe I'm saying this, by not bottoming out and doing more drafting until we're ready for Kosa and Augustine.
Yeah, this could go really bad if Granger's right. Like, if Cam Talbot has shown that he can't make it through a season without the type of defense that the Kings bring to the table, I mean, we will see Sebastian Kosa, because we
I just don't want Talbot to be back there like Tim Robinson, just freaking out. What the fuck? What the fuck? Just goal after goal after goal. Like, watching poor Tarasenko, just kind of watching another, 5-on-4 go by. I hope that's not the case.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I've got my clip for the episode ready. I'm just going to bake in a gif of what the fuck. All right. But no, I think this is fun. Like, it is definitely telling for like how excited you should be for this upcoming season. We could be totally wrong. Goaltending is voodoo. Although I will tell you, Jesse Granger will be the one guy who will push back on that. He's like, nope, it's not voodoo. You just have bad defense. But it is really fun to know too. Like, to have a guy like Scott backing you up. And we all have played the game here too, watching Kosa kind of grow up in front of us, and we got to see him just struggle, learn, win, struggle, learn, win. You're just kind of really excited for that first season. We get to see the struggle, learn, win in that winged wheel. But Mike, that's it for show topics today. We're going to end a little early. You guys,
I do want to acknowledge Performance Art, who did show up, although tardy. He did apologize for being late. But saying, I always get people who will doubt because they have unrealistic expectations, but I do understand having questions about the build. I think Corey is saying that as far as goaltending goes, this is an area where Steve has excelled. I'm not too worried about goaltending going forward. The others have been attempts at stopgaps. And I think quite a few of us, really were falling for Alex Lyon, right? So if he's part of our stopgap solution, maybe that 32 is a little aggressive of a ranking, right? Because it didn't maybe feel like we had the worst goaltending in the league. It did feel like we maybe had the worst team defense in the league. That I could probably get on board with, but I didn't think that Lyon was that bad. My God, I think Reimer even had real shutouts last season. So if that jabroni could get a shutout, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to kill it too much.
I did want to call it. Dan B made a good point about Hasek. Was he not cerebral, just chaos personified? I look at that and I say that psychopath was making that decision. Like he would go out and do those crazy things to get in your head. And I don't know. I kind of combine those two. I combine those two thoughts. I don't know. I guess the comparison would just be I'm thinking like there's also bad goaltenders, but I don't know.
I just hope that there's some way that the Red Wings can channel the Atlanta Braves, who are famously not letting their prospects play in AAA, and their good ones they just leapfrog from single or AA right to Major League Baseball. So if there's any way the Red Wings can channel that, we could find a way to get one of our exciting prospects up here while we have Larkin, Raymond, Sider, Kane, ready to roll. One can dream. One can dream, Matt. One can dream.
Well, guys, thanks for coming along. I know we're still dragging here before we get some Sider and Raymond content. Hopefully that doesn't come tomorrow, so people still watch this. But hey, when that does happen, we'll probably throw together an emergency episode. We kind of have to. But we'll see you guys at that point. And of course, next week. I don't know why I said it like that, but thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you around. Toodaloo.
Peace.